What happens when a continent rich in gold, oil, and minerals also become buried under mountains of dirt? In Africa today, new roads, railways, and airports are rising from the ground. Shiny new bridges stretch across rivers. Mega dams light up entire cities. But behind these breathtaking projects lies a hidden price tag. Billions of dollars borrowed, mostly from one country, China. This is not just about money. It's about power, politics, and the future of Africa. Some call it development. Others call it date-trapped diplomacy. So, is China helping Africa rise or tightening a financial chain around its neck? This is the story of Africa's debt crisis and how Chinese loans are reshaping the continent. Africa is the world's youngest continent. More than 1.4 billion people live here, and half of them are under 20 years old. It's a land full of energy, ideas, and potential. It also holds some of the richest natural resources on Earth. Oil in Nigeria, cobalt in the Democratic Republic of Congo, gold in Ghana, and diamonds in Botswana. For decades, the question has been, how can Africa unlock this potential? But there is one massive challenge: infrastructure. Roads, power, water, ports, and internet cables. All the things that connect people and drive economies. For years, African leaders have said the same thing. We need huge investments to build our future. And when they look around the world for partners, one country stepped up more than anyone else: China. In the early 2000s, China began pouring money into Africa. While Western leaders like the World Bank or IMF often demanded strict reforms, China offered something different: fast loans with fewer conditions. Need a railway? China can build it. Need a new port? China will fund it. Need power plants? China has engineers ready. By 2020, African nations owed over $150 billion to China. Some of the projects funded by these loans are stunning. The standard gauge railway in Kenya, stretching from Nairobi to the port city of Mombasa. The massive Addis Ababa-Djibouti railway, linking landlocked Ethiopia to the sea. Hydropower dams in Uganda and Zambia lighting up millions of homes. And new government buildings, airports, and highways in dozens of African capitals. On the surface, this looks like a win-win. Africa gets infrastructure, China gains influence and trade. But beneath the surface, problems were beginning to show. Here is the catch. These projects are not gifts, they are loans, and loans must be repaid. Many African countries borrowed billions, hoping that new infrastructure would boost their economies enough to pay it back. But things didn't always go according to plan. The railways often cost more to build than they earn from passengers and cargo. Dams sometimes underperform. Ports bring less revenue than expected. Then came global shocks, like falling commodity prices, the pandemic, and rising interest rates. Suddenly, countries like Zambia, Ghana, and Ethiopia found themselves struggling to pay back China. Zambia became the first African nation to default on its debt during COVID-19. Others followed. In some countries, more than 30% of government revenue now goes just to paying debt interests. That means less money for schools, hospitals, and jobs, and more political tension at home. This is where the story turns controversial. Critics, especially in the West, accuse China of practicing date trap diplomacy. The idea is simple. Lend huge sums of money knowing the borrower may struggle to repay. Then, when they default, China can demand strategic assets like ports, mines, or land as compensation. The most famous example is the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, which was leased to a Chinese company for 99 years after the government failed to repay loans. Could the same happen in Africa? China strongly rejects this accusation, saying it never forces country to give up assets. Many African leaders agree, pointing out that Western nations also lend money, and often with even harsher conditions. But the fear remains, because date is not just numbers on paper, it's leverage. Whoever holds the date holds influence. And in Africa today, China holds a lot of it. Let's zoom in on a few African countries to see the real impact. In Kenya, the Nairobi-Mombasa Railway was celebrated as a game changer, but it cost over $4.7 billion, mostly borrowed from China. Today, the railway struggles to cover operating costs. Kenya spends millions each year repaying China, while ticket sales fall short. In Zambia, debt repayments consumed so much of the budget that the government cut health spending. At the same time, Chinese companies gained major stakes in Zambia's copper mines, the nation's lifeline. In Ethiopia, the Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railway was meant to revolutionize trade, but it too struggles financially. Ethiopia has asked China multiple times to restructure its loans. These examples show the dilemma. Africa needs infrastructure, but the loans that build it can also weigh down entire nations. So where does Africa go from here? Some argue that debt itself is not the problem, it's how the money is used. If infrastructure creates growth, then loans can be worth it. But if projects fail to generate revenue, the debt becomes a trap. Others call for new strategies, stronger African institutions, better negotiations, and more transparency in contracts with China. There are also calls for diversification, working not only with China but also with the US, Europe, and even private investors. And then there is Africa's own potential. With its huge youth population, fast-growing tech hubs, and vast natural resources, the continent may find solutions within itself. But one thing is clear. Debt is shaping Africa's destiny in profound ways, and China's role in that story is only getting bigger. Africa's debt crisis is not just about economics. It's about sovereignty, power, and choices. China has given Africa new highways, railways, and skylines, but also new burdens. The question for the future is this: who truly benefits from these loans? Africa's people or foreign powers? The answer will shape not just Africa's tomorrow, but the balance of global power in the 21st century. Every story has a lesson. If this one opened your eyes, share it. Someone else might need to learn from it too. Stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, in finance, nothing lasts forever.